Hello everybody, welcome into Trackilicious, where today we have round 2 coverage of the Wednesday Multiclass Championship. Getting things started, week number 2 underway. And we are going to head into the 20-minute qualifying. Hello everybody in the chat, welcome in, cheers for the hydrate as well, cheers, cheers. And it is sounding like a bit of rain in the start of the qualifying session. We had a pretty epic race last week around the legendary Spa circuit. What will we have around the Nürburgring Grand Prix this week? In a pretty similar part of the world, they're only about 90 minutes apart from each other, nestled in the Ardennes forest, or Spa in Belgium. But here at the Nürburgring, we are in the German side of the forest. Let's head to the track and see what's going on out there. 20 minutes on the clock for the session, as we are used to. First 10 minutes belong to the GT4 cars, and the final 10 will be the GT3 machinery. Oh, and it's already slippy out there as Justin Beachley has a little bit of a loose moment there, trying to keep his AMG all under control, as we have the 3 AMGs all sliding out of the Mercedes-Benz arena. Will this weather hold up for the race? Will we have some wet running? For the entirety of the qualifying, it's looking like it will be wet. Only supposed to decrease in rain in about 30 minutes. Happy birthday, Vladislav. Knife. Good way to celebrate your birthday, doing some racing. Currently in the pit lane, but we will certainly tune in with the 173 when they go around for the qualifying session. Now Jacob's one of the AMG trios. Out at the front, there are quite more than 3 AMGs in the GT4 category. I think we have a total of 5. Now Jacobs gets through the kink at turn 12 before the chicane. It is the quick chicane, unlike we may be used to seeing on the Formula 1 circuit. Much more high speed, can carry a lot of momentum through the curbs if you set the car up right. Niall Jacobs out for his first qualifying lap of the night. See exactly where the AMGs will end up. Rally Atanashi, one of those AMG drivers in at the Schumacher S, going off at the top of the hill. Giancarlo Boutini behind Brian de Santiago. Runs a little bit wide there and lets the Ginetta go through. The lone firebrand on the grid tonight, it looks like. And the lone Ginetta. We're used to seeing a whole swarm of them. Cheers, One Bigley. Thank you so much for the donation. And as always, the continued support does not go unnoticed from myself and all of the hardworking staff doing all of the important work in the background. I just have the fun job of bringing all of their hard work to you. And of course, wouldn't be here without all the drivers participating as well. So thank you, One Bigley. Much appreciated. as Boutini finishes out the Schumacher-S and heads down the hill. Justin Beachley finishing his first qualifying lap, setting the benchmark at the front. See exactly what time he will set in the Sesame Street Big Bird Beach GT livery for this season. .067 is the time to chase from the rest of the grid. The AMG behind, that was the 42 of Professor Kronotus, unable to get a valid lap. Kyle Jacobs gets on the board about 2.6 seconds behind Justin Beachley. The Ginetta of Giancarlo Boutini slots in between the two AMGs, and Brian De Santiago gets a valid lap on the board as well. We saw him running wide and letting the Ginetta through, so losing a little bit of time there in Sector 1. The Alpine of Dr. Porkchop across the line gets a valid lap on the board. And then the 207 of Tai Chin goes to provisional pole, a 210.95 from the 207 AMG. Puts about a tenth between himself and Justin Beachley. They had a great battle in round number 1 last week at Spa, and it's looking like the qualifying is going to be pretty close between the two as Tai Chin goes over the curves, loses a bit of grip on the rear tires there, but nothing that the now experienced Tai Chin, graduating from the rookies, and off to a hot start with a podium finish in race number 1. See if Justin Beachley can match that time. But still a couple of GT4s without valid laps. Kronotus, Yatanashi, and Hezi Thomas still in the pit lane. As Beachley comes out of the final corner. Can't quite improve on his benchmark. What about Professor Kronotus? He gets on the board and moves up to 3rd place ahead of Giancarlo Boutini, about 8 tenths behind provisional pole. Tai Chin being given some energy from Hezi, who's in the chat, but he's not in the car, getting out in the qualifying session. What's going on there? Dr. Porkchop in the Chop Shop Alpine, looking to get in the mix here. Improves by a few tenths of a second. Brian De Santiago able to leapfrog the Alpine, able to get a quicker lap after not having to let anybody through in Sector 1. Well, Hezi, I would say this is your responsibility right now, is getting a lap in 10 minutes while you can. Now down to 2 minutes in the GT4 session. Tai Chin leading the way from Beachley and Kronotus. It's an AMG 1, 2, 3. Then it's Boutini in the Ginetta. Kyle Jacobs in 5th. If he can get ahead of Boutini, we're going to have 2 rows of AMGs. Then De Santiago 6th, Dr. Porkchop 7th. No valid lap on the board from Yatanashi. And Hezi Thomas stuck in the pit lane, being a good son and helping out his mother with some responsibilities. So now the lead AMGs on track, that is, not in the overall standings. Justin Beachley looks to get an improvement. He will have time for one more lap here as he crosses the line with about 70 seconds left in the session. No improvements there from the number 18. What about Professor Kronotus coming up to the line? And it's the same story for the 42. The rain, I think, picking up just a touch. It looked like it was on the radar. And so perhaps very vital that the drivers got their laps in early before the conditions got just a touch worse. Brian Santiago gets ahead of Niall Jacobs. He will put himself into the top 5. Yatanashi on the board in the 621. Slots into 8th place. Pork chop across the line with an improvement by another half a second there. And a couple of drivers with yellow flags, Yatanashi and Niall Jacobs, back into the pit, so their session is done. Pork chop just about keeping it within track limits there. Oh, and now running wide and off and into the pits. Checkered flag technically waving for the GT4s. This will be the final lap for those still out on track. Justin Beachley, Professor Kronotus, the 57 of Giancarlo Boutini, and the 778 of Brian Santiago, looking to get improvements. But Professor Kronotus invalidates his lap. That's the session done for the number 42. Tai Chin back in the pits from provisional pole. A 2:10.95 is the time that Justin Beachley is chasing in his 18 AMG to be the lead car of the GT4 grid. Through the chicane, nice and smooth. Just needs a little over a tenth. Gingerly into the final corner, now hard on the power and coming up to the line. Can he find a little bit of time? No, he does find some time, but it's not enough. Less than a tenth separate the two AMGs on the front row. But Justin Beachley will have to settle for second place. Brian Santiago just returning to the pit lane on track. Giancarlo Boutini in the pits. And the session is done for the GT4s. Now time for the GT3 drivers as they are on their out laps here. Devin Anthony, your race winner from last week in the 664 Lexus. The middle of a hungry GT3 pack, looking to get their quick laps in. Sam Zawisa in the number 52 leads the grid over the line. He'll be the first to start the qualifying lap. Down into turn 1 and now entering the Mercedes-Benz Arena. A very tricky left-hand corner. At the beginning, the track just kind of breaks away, and it's tricky to get the power down, especially in the wet, but Zawisa doing well there to keep the car well within control. So now coming up to the hairpin at turn 7. Another good overtaking opportunity during the race. During the wet as well. Lots of different lines the drivers like to take through there. Going into the Schumacher S up the hill. To the left. Sending it to the right as you crest it. Now into a pretty quick turn 10 and 11, braking down the hill. But it is crucial to get the power down. There's a bit of a straightaway coming up, although there is this kink, but it is flat out in the GT4s and the GT3s. Now the tricky chicane. slippery curbs in the wet conditions. Drivers trying to avoid them as best as possible. And now into the final corner goes Sam Zawisza. What will be the benchmark time set by the 52 Ferrari? It's going to be a 2:05.045. Prakash Natasan gets on the board about 1.5 seconds behind Zawisza. Sisson goes to the top with a 2:03.795, 1.2 seconds clear of Zawisza. Devin Anthony shuffled down to third, almost spinning it out of turn 1, but keeping it out on track. Vladislav Knife in 6th, Wallace in 5th. No times just yet from Mach Speed as Dom Matroni gets up to the 2nd row into 4th place. 2.5 seconds down from provisional pole, but less than a 10th separating himself from Devin Anthony, the driver right ahead of him in the standings. Prakash Natasan inside the top 5. Needs about 3/10 to get to Dom Matroni in 4th. And has about a 9/10 gap over Wallace behind him in 6th. Still a handful of drivers without a qualifying lap in the GT3s. Got Dom, Speed, Repis, and Guzman in the pits. What can Prakash Natasan do? Can he get an improvement and slide up onto the 2nd row out of the final corner? The Bentley pushing to the line and gets up to 3rd place, 1.3 seconds down from provisional pole, but has a pretty good gap between himself and Devin Anthony. Jake Sisson improves the benchmark to 2:03.167, set by the 67 Mustang. Times are close between Knife, Matroni, and Devin Anthony. Can Wallace get in the mix? He will leapfrog all 3 of them and put half a second between himself and Devin Anthony. Gets his 30 BMW onto the 2nd row of the grid. And what does the sister BMW have in store? Dom Matroni responds and puts his BMW up to 4th. Happy birthday to Vladislav Knife, driving the 173 McLaren. Currently sitting in 7th place, less than a 10th, or just a little over a 10th, excuse me, between himself and Devin Anthony in 6th place. And needs about half a second to get to Brandon Wallace in the top 5. And on the radar, you can see there, the rain is going down as Vladislav Knife gets out of the way. I believe that's the 67 Mustang ahead of him. But he will have one more qualifying lap here with just under 90 seconds left in the session. Fry Dom with the first valid lap for the 999 Bentley. Gets all the way up to the front row. A great lap from the Bentley Credit Racing GSR. And it's a one and done, all back to the pits. Happy with the lap. And just like that, Bentley happy to return. About 3/10 behind Jake Sisson on the front spot. But a good time nonetheless from the 999. So Dom, Wallace. There's Dom and Wallace. Those are the two GT3s in the pits. Everybody else still out on track, looking to get a lap in. Rep is still without one valid one on the board, so he will start from 19th as it stands. Timer hits 0. Checkered flag is waving. Crucial for Konstantin Reppes to get this lap in. And valid, nearly losing the rear end, but well controlled there from the 28. As he now comes up to the line. What sort of time can Reppes manage? It's going to be a one and done for him as well. Gets to 9th place, about 1/10 behind his teammate Vladislav Knife. Prakash Nandasan on his final attempt will put his Bentley up to 4th place. Zawisa improves his time, but can't improve his position. Devin Anthony gets up to the front row to 2nd place, 2/10 behind Sisson. Great lap from the Lexus at the end, and Mach Speed gets on the board as well at the end to crucially start ahead of the GT4 field. So the two BMWs were looking good in 4th and 5th, getting shuffled down to 6th and 7th. Dom Matroni looking for a good final lap here. He is pushing to the line. What will it be? It'll be a top 5 start from Dom Matroni, but he gained a lot of lap time on his personal best to get exactly a 10th behind Zawisa. And now Carlos Guzman was in the pits for a majority of the session, coming out late. And it's going to be a one and done for him as well in the number 39. Going into the chicane, what sort of time does the 39 have? The sister Mustang is on the front step. What performance does the 39 have in the bag? Out of the final corner to the final, or to the line. It's a short run and gets up to 7th place. And just like that, a much more dry day in the race. 3 minutes for the drivers to get themselves ready, get the setup loaded, get the right fuel in the car. 75 minutes of running, 2 mandatory pit stops must be taken. 25-second refueling time is mandatory, and then it is up to the drivers whether they want to take fresh tires and add 5 seconds to their pit stop time. At the moment, track is greasy, overcast skies for the next 30 minutes, but things can change in a hurry here around the Nürburgring. Certainly falling victim to it in the past. At the 24 hours held here. Let's see what we'll have in store for tonight's round number 2 multi-class race. It's hard to get off this little shot. It's a great little pan of the whole grid. But we must start with our grid walk, beginning with the GT4s. Tai Chen claims another pole position in the 207 Tan B Performance Red Dragon AMG. Can he convert it to a race win this go around? Or can Justin Beachley get the jump as he did in race number 1. Or am I getting that mixed up? I might be getting that mixed up. Nonetheless, Justin Beachley getting the race win. He starts from the front row in second place in the number 18 Beach GT AMG. Then you got the third AMG in a row of Professor Kronotus in the T Swizzalicious number 42. He will have Giancarlo Boutini next to him in fourth place in the number 57 Firebrand Janetta. Ryan de Santiago gets a top 5 start in the 778 NPG Racing BMW. Alongside him, Niall Jacobs on the back of the third row in sixth in the number 47 Snap-on Hellman's Inc. AMG. Then you have Dr. Porkchop in the 71 Chop Shop Racing Alpine starting from 7th place. Next to him, Rally Yatanashi in the 621 Mad Fox Racing AMG. Hezzy Thomas unable to get a valid lap in during the session because he is a good son and had to help his mom, but nonetheless excited to see what the 59 can do. Hezzy Thomas in the Dogbox Racing Camaro on the wheel. Let's see what he can do. Jake Sissons getting things started on the formation lap. He will have pole position for the race in the number 67 HRT Ford Racing 24HN 2026. Next to him, race winner from round 1, Devin Anthony getting a good lap in at the end of the qualifying session in the Tech 1 Racing 664 Lexus. Then we got Fry Dom in the Bentley Credit Racing GSR 999 starting from 3rd. Sam Zawisa joins the Bentley on the 2nd row in the number 52 York Pearl Ferrari, looking to avoid a drive-through penalty as he did at the race start in round number 1. Dom Matroni in the number 5, starting from 5th. The number matches the position in the Matroni CRT livery. Next to him on the 3rd row, Prakash Natasan in the Dark Side Racing number 82 Bentley, starting from 6th place. Carlos Guzman able to get a good lap in at the end, his one and only lap of the qualifying, and he will be in the number 39 Ford Performance Mustang. Next to him on the 4th row, Brandon Wallace in the Veteran Racing number 30 BMW with the Red Bull camo livery. Vladislav Knife, happy birthday, in the 173 RSK Racing Team McLaren, starting from the front of the 5th row. He's got his RSK Racing Team teammate. Next to him, it's Konstantin Repis in the number 28 McLaren. Rounding out the GT3 grid, it's Mach Speed in the I'm in Danger 145 Porsche. And that concludes your grid walk. And as the entire grid is getting ready, getting some tire temperature, some brake temperature, getting themselves ready to go racing, 75 minutes of action. Those 2 mandatory pit stops as well to consider. What sort of strategies will we see, especially with the variable weather we saw in the practice and the qualifying leading up to the race? That was the view from the lead car. This is the view from the car from the back of the grid. Hezzy Thomas, much more smooth inputs on the wheel you can see there as opposed to before. Fantastic to see as the progress of Hezzy Thomas in his sim racing career, getting a great deal of equipment in the bag. See what he can do. Starting from 9th in the GT4s. As the grid rounds the final corner, we get ready for the green flag to wave and get the 20 cars ready for racing. And it's an early wave. The Bentley getting a good jump. The Mustang bogged down off the line. Devin Anthony and the Bentley already nearly ahead. Fry Dom up 2 positions. Can he hold it? Has to take the wide line with the Mustang taking the inside. But the 999 Bentley with a fantastic launch off of the green flag jumps the front row and moves up to P1. Brandon Wallace dropping back into the GT4 grid, and same with Sam Zawisa in the 52. He is all the way at the back now. Tai Chin remains in the race lead of the GT4s. Justin Beachley still behind him. Niall Jacobs with a great start in the number 47. What's happened there? One of the GT4s going wide. That was the 42 of Professor Kronotus. He was in a good top 3 position during the qualifying session, but now it's Niall Jacobs who will take 3rd place. A great launch from Fry Dom in the 999 Bentley. Devin Anthony trying also to get by the Mustang, but just couldn't find the room to sneak through in turn 1. But got a great getaway. Dom Matroni applying the pressure to Prakash Natsasan for 4th place. As the number 5 BMW looks to make his way up the grid. Konstantin Repis and Vladislav Knife on the back of Carlos Guzman. Repis getting through, Knife in 8th. Oh, and that was a late move by the 173. Goes into the side of the Mustang. Repis goes through. Mach Speed tries to take advantage as well. And Guzman to the inside. Mach Speed trying to follow through, but not a lot of space on offer there. So Guzman will move back up to 8th place. Knife, or excuse me, Guzman will move to 7th place. Knife remains in 8th, and Repis will get up to 6th. So Sam Zawisa having to work his way through the GT4 grid here. Catching up to Brian de Santiago next in the 778 BMW. The multi-class, it's all about where you catch the traffic. At some points, you lose a lot of time having to follow the GT4s through some sections, but if you catch them on the straight, the GT3s can blow right on by. And so, still a long way to go in this one. Gaps at the front opening up. Dom with a nearly 3-second lead over Jake Sisson. Great pace set by the Bentley as Zawisa works his way through the top 3 in the GT4s. Justin Beachley and Niall Jacobs very close to each other on track here in this battle for 2nd and 3rd in the GT4s. Rally Atanashi down the inside of Giancarlo Boutini into turn 1. Can the 621 keep it on the road? Just a little bit wide of track limits there at turn 1, and Giancarlo Boutini able to stay ahead. It's hard to tell if it'll stay dry all race. It started with greasy conditions, which means that a rain shower passed recently, so the track didn't quite dry up. It's still green. And with the overcast conditions, the sky is not helping the track dry up. So we'll have some green running for a little while. I hope it does rain a little bit to add a little bit of variability to this race. And that'll certainly have to tie into the strategies that the drivers will have to use. Oh, contact! Niall Jacobs tries to force his way through the inside, but there wasn't a lot of room given by Justin Beachley. And Niall Jacobs just handing that position back. It's going all right. How are you doing? Oh, and cheers for the hydrate. Got some tea, as usual. Soothing the throat with all of this talking going on. Hope everybody's been having a good week so far. Happy Wednesday. You made it to Trackilicious in the Wednesday Multiclass Championship. It's the GT3s and the GT4s. 75-minute races, round number 2 here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. Fry Dom in the 999 Bentley got a great start from 3rd, got past the front row into turn 1 and hasn't looked back since, building a 3-second gap over the next GT3 car, Jake Sissons. Then Devin Anthony rounds out the GT3 podium. A similar story for Tai Chin, building a near 3-second gap over Justin Beachley after starting from pole position in the 207 Tan B Performance Red Dragon AMG. Justin Beachley has Niall Jacobs behind him for company in this battle for 2nd and 3rd. Brian DeSantiago looming pretty close there in the 778. He's within a 1.5 seconds of a podium position. Oh, a little bit deep from the 778. The BMW trying to close in. Then you have Brandon Wallace in the 30, getting through. 2 BMWs on track there next to each other, but one in the GT3 class, one in the GT4. Quick flash of the lights. Brandon Wallace letting Niall Jacobs know that he is there and he is going to try and make that move. Brian DeSantiago tried to follow through, but just couldn't quite find the space to do so. The 778 we've seen has some good straight line speed before. Can he use it to his advantage here? Lining up a move into the inside of turn 1. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Niall Jacobs on the racing line, but Brian DeSantiago down the inside. He cuts that quite a good bit and can't maintain the speed to get the move done. Domatroni on the back of Prakash Natasan once again. We saw this battle brewing on the opening laps of the race, settled down just a touch, and now the BMW all over the back of the Bentley once again. Heading out of turn 11, down the kink, into the chicane we go. It's just not that heavy of a braking zone to really line up that move, unless you have a great run out of turn 11 down the hill. So for the time being, Don Matroni's going to be stuck looking at the back of that Bentley. Professor Kronotus has caught up to Giancarlo Boutini. We saw the 42 briefly under yellow flag conditions at the start of the race, dropping back from third. Ezzy Thomas completing a pit stop already and being given some energy by Stinky Amanita. Thank you very much for doing that. Ezzy Thomas out of the pits, the first driver to complete a mandatory pit stop tonight. Ladislav Knife in the pits. Happy birthday. The 173 in for a refuel and service on the first 10 minutes of this race. Dom Matroni gets through the Bentley and takes 4th place. Just like that. Getting on through. And now he has a 7-second gap to try and chase down a podium position. Devin Anthony, his next target in the 664 Lexus. This is Kronotus versus Boutini, AMG versus Ginetta, the Alpine of Dr. Porkchop, not too far ahead as well, 1.1 seconds ahead of Boutini. And into the Schumacher S, Professor Kronotus trying to line up the move. It's so difficult to do so, but the AMG has the straight line speed compared to the Ginetta, lining up the move to the inside of turn 10. He's got the inside and just held the apex and didn't allow the Ginetta the over-under opportunity. So Professor Kronotus moving up to 5th place in the GT4s. No, 6th place. 6th place in the GT4s belongs to the 42. Now the next target for the T-Swizzalicious AMG is Dr. Porkchop, about 2.5 seconds up the road in the number 71 Alpine. Carlos Guzman recovering well after his contact with the McLaren of Knife. He is on the back of Prakash Natasan in the 82 Bentley. Starting lap number 7. Guzman flashing the lights, letting Natasan know he's there. He's going to try to go the long way around of turn 1. If he can get the grip, he's going to open himself for the inside of turn 2. Just about how to nose in there. Contact side by side between the two of them. And Guzman goes through into the top 5. Rally Yatanashi just hoping, praying nobody would hit him there, trying to stay out of the way of this battle. Now Guzman looks to chase down Dom Matroni, 1.5 seconds between the Mustang and the BMW in 4th. Mustang roaring through the kink in his efforts of chasing down the number 5. As there is the BMW of Wallace spinning at the final corner, sending Guzman into the wall momentarily. Luckily for Guzman, he didn't go right where the barrier starts. That would have been a pretty heavy amount of damage he received, but nonetheless, any amount of damage is not favorable. So Guzman carrying quite a bit of bumps and bruises from the early stint here. But nonetheless has some good pace to get into the top 5. Speaking of top 5, Professor Kronotus trying to chase down a top 5 position. Dr. Porkchop holding it for the time being in the 71 Alpine. This is the view from the back of the French manufacturer. Very planted through the chicane. Having to downshift out of the final corner, try and help him get all of that power out onto the straight, because the AMG is closing in within half a second of the Alpine. Alpine slightly on the defensive line there. Professor Kronotus looks to get the over-under done, but not close enough to do it just yet. Boutini trying to stay close to this battle as well in any effort to try and sneak through. Out of turn 6, going into the hairpin. The Alpine couldn't quite get the power down as well as he would like, but it looks to us have escaped into the braking zone, out of the hairpin. The AMG thinking of a move into the Schumacher S, but the nimble little Alpine will handle that quite well. But the power of the AMG helping him up the hill, staying right on the bumper of Dr. Porkchop. Through the kink into the chicane. Can Kronotus line it up? Not quite, like we've been mentioning, not the heaviest of braking zones going into that chicane, and just carrying a lot of momentum and speed through there. Difficult to line it up unless you have the run out of turn 10, or turn 11, excuse me. Don Matroni takes a visit to the pit lane in the number 5. He was running in 4th place. You can see the Bentley of Fry Dom here, the leader of the race after 10 laps. Looks to get through this battle here. The Alpine opening up a little bit of room, but the Alpine forced a little bit wide. The AMG trying to follow the Bentley through. You can see that in the mirror there. Dr. Porkchop staying in front, out of the hairpin. The AMG is closer than he was before. Jake Sisson approaching this battle as well in the Mustang. Will he play a role in helping the AMG get through? They're gonna line it up side by side. The AMG has the inside into turn 10. This is for 5th place in the GT4s. The Alpine with the nimble chassis trying to get back across onto the racing line. Goes into the side of the AMG, and Jake Sisson just trying to get through. He will squeeze through the pair of them, but Professor Kronotus will take 5th place away from the 71 Alpine. Sisson with just a wall of GT4 cars ahead of him, absolutely nowhere he could go. And Porkchop now with a visit to the pit lane after his battle with the 42 AMG. Weather still predicting dry running for the next 30 minutes. So if anything happens, it's going to happen in the final 20 minutes of this race. And that will certainly shake things up. Sam Zawisa out of the pits. That was a rather lengthy stop from the Ferrari. I wonder if the 52 picked up some damage. Alpine out of the pits. First stop served. Dom Matroni approaching the Alpine in the number 5. He is the leader of the GT3s of those who have completed one pit stop. Currently running in 7th place. And was running inside the top 5 before taking that pit stop as well. So we'll see where he slots in after the rest of the drivers in the top 4 take their pit stop. And right on cue, Jake Sisson and Devin Anthony file in. As does Niall Jacobs, running in, I believe he was running in 3rd place in the GT4s. GT4 leader Ty Chin in the pits as well. There is the AMG parked up right behind the Lexus. So that will give Justin Beachley the race lead in the GT4s. As Ty Chin is just letting the crew do the work in the pit lane. Cars are ghosted in the pits, unlike Le Mans Ultimate. So no worries of the Lexus being parked right in front of the 207. Releases the pit limiter and back out onto the track goes Ty Chin. Bit of a lengthy stop there for the 207. It's 37 seconds compared to Niall Jacobs, who took just 29. So perhaps some tires getting fitted to Ty Chin's, maybe a bit of damage getting fixed as well. But for Niall Jacobs, just looks like a refueling stop. Sisson and Anthony both with over 30-second pit stops, so the Lexus and Mustang likely taking some new tires there. But Sisson remains ahead of Anthony by about 3 seconds. Then Dom Matroni trails the Lexus by about 6 seconds. It's a Bentley 1-2 as it stands. Dom in the 999 leads Not to Sun in the number 82. .778 BMW Brian de Santiago in the pits, as is Prakash Not to Sun, one of the two Bentleys in the GT3 grid. Konstantin Repis joins him in the 28. As the pit lane beginning to get very active right around the 25 to 30 minute mark of this race. Brian de Santiago burning out of the pit lane, or out of his pit box, I'd rather. And now he comes out of the pit lane. And where will the 778 come out? I believe he's going to be just behind or not just behind, he is still behind the AMGs in the podium positions. Brian de Santiago with a 10-second gap to make up to Niall Jacobs. Try and get himself onto the podium. Justin Beachley in the pits. He was running in second place before the GT4s began their pit stops. We'll see where he comes out relative to the AMG podium runners. I believe the gap was pretty equidistant. He had about 3 seconds to Ty Chin in front and about 3 seconds to Niall Jacobs behind. There or thereabouts, as Big Bird rolls into the pit box. Max Speed and Giancarlo Boutini joining in the Porsche and Jannetta. Still just a couple of drivers waiting to serve their first pit stop. Fry Dom in the lead of this one in the 999, yet to visit the pit lane. Same with Professor Kronotus, who will now inherit the race lead of the GT4s. Seeing Rally Yatanashi with a couple visits down pit lane, but no mandatory pit stops have been knocked off. And just now at the 30-minute mark of the race, the track has evolved too fast. So Justin Beachley splits the two AMGs. Ty Chin there, exiting turn 7. And Niall Jacobs not too far behind Justin Beachley, who did take some new rubber. His stop was over 30 seconds. So just needs a couple of laps to get the GT4 Pirelli rubber up to temperature. No tire warmers for the GT4s. They have to generate all of the temperature on their own out of the pit lane. GT3s have the luxury of getting warm tires right out of the gates. see if Justin Beachley can extract some pace out of his AMG here in the second stint and try and close in on race leader in the GT4's Ty Chin. Going into turn 1 now. Dom Matroni right ahead of him. Apart from the leader, never mind, the leader of the GT3 is now in the pits. That's Fry Dom. But the 999 Bentley should remain out in the top spot, as the 71 Dr. Porkchop in for his second stop. Might be a little bit risky considering we don't know exactly the weather conditions in the final 15 minutes or so of this one. So if it begins to downpour, Dr. Porkchop might be a little bit stranded there in the Alpine. So hopefully for him, weather remains nice and dry. Ezzy Thomas completing both mandatory pit stops of the night already. He is the first to do so in the number 59 Dog Box Racing Camaro. The Frydom remains in the race lead with a healthy 8.5 second gap over Jake Sisson. Devin Anthony showing his pace though in the Lexus. He's got the fastest lap of this one. The Alpine of Dr. Porkchop done with his visits to the pit lane. I'm sure he will be happy to see some dry running all the way to the end of this one. Bentley in the lead for 16 laps now, starting lap 17 of this 3.2 mile track. Built as an addition to the Nordschleife in 2001. Or excuse me, in 1984. The current version, as it looks now, has remained unchanged since 2001. But the original Grand Prix edition made in the mid-80s. They run the combined Grand Prix and Nordschleife for a lot of racing series. The NLS. Pretty much exclusively running around the Nürburgring. And it is nestled right in some thick forest beautiful Nürburgring Castle can be seen as you leave the track. Lots of rolling hills. Really worth a visit. Gap's just opening up here, with Dom maintaining his 8.5-second gap over Sisson, who's got a 3-second gap over Devin Anthony, who holds on to the final podium position in the GT3s. Dom Matroni running in 4th place, about 16 seconds back. Then Prakash Natasan rounds out your top 5. Mach Speed running in 6th, Carlos Guzman in 7th, Repis ahead of 9th, Knife in 9th, happy birthday Vladislav Knife, Zamzawisa in 10th, Brandon Wallace 11th. In the GT4s, Professor Kronotus yet to complete a mandatory pit stop of the night. He is the race leader as it stands, as that is the number 30, Brandon Wallace, under yellow flags.
We are halfway through, keep it up.
Now Jacob's into the pits for his 2nd visit of the night. And he's got the box right at the end of the pit lane, so he can just roll out and not even have to worry about a limiter. Perhaps Kronotus just waiting for that 30-minute mark to be absolutely certain that there is no rain forecast. And into the pits he goes. 36 minutes to go. Tai Chin will get the race lead back. Mach Speed looking to get on through. The 207 gets through the start-finish straight, gets through the stationary 42, and back into the race lead goes the 207. Justin Beachley getting through as well. Oh no! Brandon Wallace lost his internet. That's such a shame. Yeah, I was wondering what that car with the yellow flag, it wasn't even really in a spot that was like out of a corner or anything, so it was a very peculiar position. So thank you for the insider knowledge. Unlucky there, Brandon. Hope to see you back next week. So now, after at least one pit stop has been completed, Kronotus slots into 4th place ahead of Giancarlo Boutini. But now Jacobs was holding on to third place before he stopped for the second time of the night. So still be very curious to see where the 42 will end up after running mostly out of sync from the top 3 AMGs. Professor Kronotus back into the pits for the second time in the number 42. So just like that, he's going to get both pit stops done and dusted. Whoa, is Rally Yatanashi appearing in and out of this race. Goes the 621. Notice just stationary in the pits, waiting for the crew to get the job done, or he can set out into the final 32 minutes of round number 2 at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. Out he goes. Devin Anthony trying to close in the gap to the top 2. He's got 3 seconds to get to Jake Sisson in the 67 Mustang. He does have the fastest lap of the race as well, so the 664 does have some pace to him. He got the race win last week as well. So we'll see if he can put it on display here into the final 30 minutes. One stop left as well for the GT3s. As Boutini comes in to get his pit stops completed. This will be his second one. He will be running all the way to the end. Giancarlo Boutini gets out of the pits behind Dr. Porkchop and Professor Kronotus. So the 71 just ahead, about 4 seconds between the Alpine and Giancarlo Boutini in the 57 coming out of the Mercedes-Benz arena. Repus and Knife into the pits, giving the RSK racing team a lot to do with the two McLarens stacking their pit stops. The 173 of Vladislav Knife serviced for the final time. Happy birthday. He will emerge out of the pits in 10th place. Dom Matroni, Carlos Guzman. BMW and Ford into the pit lane for the final time this evening. So Kronotus, after his two pit stops, comes out behind Niall Jacobs, who was running inside the podium before the whole pit stop cycle started. Where will he slot in with Brian De Santiago yet to serve a stop? Because the 778 BMW was running in 4th place behind the all-AMG podium. Leader into the pits for the final time on the 24th lap. Jake Sissons will take over that P1 position. He is still yet to stop for his second time tonight. As the 999 Bentley gets dropped and out of the pit lane he goes. For the first time in a while, Fry Dom doesn't have the 1 next to his name. But we'll most likely get that back after the Jake Sisson pit stop. Devin Anthony out of the pits as well, with Prakash Natasan in the 82 Bentley taking his final pit stop of the night. Second place runner in the GT4's Justin Beachley into the pits for the final time. A long hold for the AMG, just sitting and letting the crew get to work, whether it's refueling, or getting some fresh tires on the car. Nonetheless, he comes out of the pits comfortably ahead of the 47 and will most likely retain second place after all things are said and done. Boutini getting close to the back of Dr. Porkchop. Finding a bit of pace in the late runnings here. Battle of the short wheelbase cars, Alpine and Ginetta. Porkchop leading the 57 as they go into turn 1. The Alpine takes the defensive line. Giancarlo Boutini is going to have some work to do if he wants to go the long way around. Tries to get the over-under, but Porkchop parking the Alpine in a good spot. A bit of contact there between the two of them, but the Alpine remains in control and ahead, as that is Jake Sisson trying to get his way through the battle here. Costing Boutini just a little bit of time to the Alpine in his efforts to try and get by Dr. Porkchop. Oh no, I think we've lost Tai Chin. I don't see the 207 AMG in the standings. What has happened to the 207 of Tai Chin? That'll give Justin Beachley first. Now Jacobs will get promoted to second place. So then does Brian DeSantiago get promoted up to third, or does Professor Kronotus have the pace to get ahead? He's gonna stay ahead of Professor Kronotus, but into the final 22 minutes of this one, Professor Kronotus about 9 seconds back from a podium position. Boutini gets back on the tail of the Alpine, the battle picking right back up, has a great run out of the final corner, flashing the lights, letting the Alpine know he's there. He's gonna send it down to the inside of turn 1. Can he get the move done this time? Alpine running all the way to the outside, trying to carry the speed through the corner, but it looks like Boutini will take the position away from Dr. Porkchop. Sissons remains the lone driver yet to complete all of the mandatory pit stops of the night. You can just hear the tires struggling as Boutini pushing the Ginetta around the hairpin of turn 7. The Alpine going heavily over the curbs. The Mustang goes into the gravel. That's Carlos Guzman trying to get through the Alpine, but having to go wide at the top of the Schumacher S. Going into the gravel, slowing down the momentum of the Ford. Sisson comes in the 67 HRT Ford Racing Mustang from the lead. Rydom was out ahead before the second pit stop by about 10 seconds. Will the 999 Bentley retain that lead? Or did Jake Sisson find a bit of pace? No, the Bentley goes through. There's the 999. As just now, the Ford gets dropped off the air jacks and back into the track he goes. But Devin Anthony, pretty close to the 67. That gap right around 6 seconds. The battle for second and third between the Lexus and the Bentley. Or excuse me, the Lexus and the Ford. Getting all my cars mixed up here. Carlos Guzman with your new fastest lap of the race, a 1:55.977, set by the 39 on his previous lap. So Guzman getting involved in a few incidents, carrying some damage on the Mustang, but showing he's got the pace to run at the front, currently in 6th. With a 25-second gap to Prakash Natasan, he will need to make up quite a lot of time a lap here as he drifts through turn 6. Gets some style points as well as the fastest lap of the race. As we are going to have a dry one from start to finish here. Into the last quarter of an hour we go, and Guzman once again finding the gravel at the top of the Schumacher S. But keeping the car pointed in the right direction. As Thomas this time takes to the grass for a drift and a spin in the Camaro. Onto the grass he goes in turn 11, and out of the session goes the Dog Box Racing Camaro. Natasan with a less than 6-second gap to Dom Matroni. Can he find a bit of pace here compared to the BMW and maybe close in for 4th? Going side by side through the Schumacher S with the GT4. That's Niall Jacobs. looks like from the reports, Tai Chin just having a game crash. So out of this one is the 207. It's proving to be a game of survival here. They would normally say that around the Nürburgring Nordschleife combined track, but today at the Grand Prix circuit, certainly seeing a lot of cars dropping out of this race. Some sort of technical issues one way or another, but that in some ways is the way that sim racing can relate to real life racing. Can't control any sort of engine failures that the car may experience, and in the same way, never know when your internet may go out, the game might crash, some sort of wheel, software issues. That is the unpredictability of the racing that we know and love. Nothing is certain until the checkered flag waves. Dom with a 15-second lead over Jake Sisson. Drive-through for Brian to Santiago. That's going to cost him a podium position. The 778. 9 seconds clear of Professor Kronotus. Didn't really need to push. But the 778 BMW falling victim to 4 track limit violations and gets a drive-through for his trouble. He is in to serve his drive-through. He will trundle at pit lane speed for right around 30 seconds. There goes Kronotus to get back to a podium position where he started this one. Santiago will hold on to 4th place at least, with Boutini getting into the chicane just now. Unfortunately there for the 778, having to serve that drive-through, dropping back to 4th. Into the final 10 minutes we go. Justin Beachley leads the GT4s in the number 18 Beach GT AMG. So he was fortunate to pick up that P1 position with Tai Chin experiencing technical issues. Certainly staying close to Tai Chin. Maybe not quite the outright pace we saw last week to try and get by and into the race lead. Oh, and Devin Anthony goes into the grass at the exit of turn 1. Losing a considerable amount of time to the top 2, but able to maintain his podium position. The RSK teammates Repus and Knife close on track, about a second separating the two McLarens as the 28 tries to go deep on the brakes into the hairpin, but just misjudges it and goes spinning off into the gravel. Yellow flag indeed, but rejoins safely and back in pursuit of his 173 teammate Vladislav Knife. Kyle Jacobs started from outside the top 5 in the 47 AMG, but through the race he was able to get up to the podium positions early on, and now holding on to second place. Into the final 5 minutes of round number 2 in the Wednesday Multiclass Championship here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix track. Niall Jacobs holding on to second place. 25 seconds is the lead for Justin Beachley at the front of the GT4 field. Qualified on pole, or excuse me, started on the front row did Justin Beachley. Was running in second place for a majority of this one before inheriting the race lead, but through the gravel at the top of the Schumacher S. No major dramas there for the race leader. Thank you for the follow. Hope you're enjoying the racing. Going into the closing stages of this one, Justin Beachley is using all of the track limits to his advantage. Hopefully not picking up a drive-through penalty at the end like we saw being handed out to Brian de Santiago. 3-car battle here for 8th, 9th, and 10th. Repis to the inside of the hairpin. Zawisa in the Ferrari trying to follow through. They're going to go side by side through the Schumacher S. Zawisa around the outside. Knife cuts off that opportunity, but Zawisa looks to take the line and try and get it into the braking zone of turn 10, but the McLaren, the 173, able to stay in front and hold on to 9th. And here we go. Some racing to close things out in this battle for the final spots in the top 10. Repis in 8th, Knife in 9th. Zawisa rounds out the top 10, but looks to try and get ahead of the pair of McLarens, right ahead of them up the road. Zawisa all over the track trying to gain any sort of advantage he can over the 173 and try and work his way through. Blue flag waving for the 778 BMW of Brian de Santiago ahead of this trio. Late dive to the inside, but Zawisa just faking the move there, as now Knife and Zawisa get through. The 778 BMW continuing their battle into the hairpin at turn 7. Pit window closed.
On the final lap, give it all you can.
The 999 BMW sets off for one last 3.2 mile tour of the Nürburgring Grand Prix track, as the position's still undecided here for 8th, 9th, and 10th. Into the chicane, Zawisa gets loose and goes into the grass. That will cost him a substantial amount of time in his efforts of chasing down 9th place. Zeros on the clock. The 999 BMW on its final lap of the race. Started from the second row, but had a mega jump at the start to get ahead of Devin Anthony and Jake Sisson. Took the position on the outside of turn 1 and hasn't really looked back since. Dominating pace from Fry Dom in the 999. Bentley Credit Racing GSR. Bentley out of the final corner to take the checkered flag and the top step of the podium. Welcome to the Multi-Class League. Fry Dom, well done. After 38 laps of running, gets the race win. Justin Beachley right behind on track takes the victory in the GT4 class. Jake Sisson across the line in the 67 to finish second place in his Mustang. The HRT Ford Racing takes a good podium position here in his season debut. This trio still battling it out. Zawisa gets ahead of Knife for 9th place. Devin Anthony and Professor Kronotus across the line to finish third in their classes. The 664 Lexus in the GT3s and the 42 of Kronotus. There's Niall Jacobs, who's already across the line. He takes second place in the GT4 class. Well done, Niall. After starting from outside the top 5 into the line, Zawisa gets ahead of Repis. The Ferrari finishes ahead of both McLarens at the line. My goodness me, they were running all the way to the end there. Dom Matroni gets 4th, Prakash Natasan 5th, Guzman 6th, Mach Speed 7th, Sam Zawisa 8th, Knife 9th, Konstantin Repis 10th. Giancarlo Boutini across the line to finish 5th in the GT4 class. As behind him is Dr. Porkchop in the 71 Alpine, last but not least across the line there. They got Brian de Santiago ahead of him in 4th, Professor Kronotus in 3rd, Niall Jacobs 2nd, and Justin Beachley on top, making it an AMG 1-2-3 in the GT4 class. We will take it back to our studio and invite the top 3 for a quick chat of how your guys' race went on this evening.
Green light. Go, go, go.
And if they're not feeling it, that is A-OK as well. Alrighty, Niall Jacobs joining from the GT4s, Justin Beachley in the GT4s as well, Devin Anthony joining from the GT3s. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, Chrono, as well. Got the whole GT4 squad in here, all AMGs. Justin, a bit fortuitous there to get the race win.
Yeah, absolutely. Lack of try practice tonight really got to me. Unfortunately, Ty's game crashed, or he was going to walk away with that one, but, felt good anyway. Came out of the second pit stop, and all of a sudden I was all alone, and there was nobody in front of me, and I'm like, what is going on? But, yeah, I would say that the Nürburgring GP track is not, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's my favorite or one that I'm, like, particularly good at, so to do well at all is good, so, we'll chalk it up as a win and move on to next week.
Yeah, next week, going back to Belgium, going to Zolder. So we're doing a little bit of flip-flop, starting in Belgium, going across the border to Germany, and then we're going back again. Niall, you finished in second place. You started, I believe, outside the top 5 in the GT4s and got a pretty mega start. To find yourself on the podium in the early goings there.
Yeah, I need to work on consistency with this car. Like last season with the Camaro, I felt like I could do pretty much the same thing every lap. But with AMG, I have more pace with it. But I mean, that's just the killer for me, is I can't do the same thing twice in a row or 3 times, 5 times.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Chrono, it's a bit of an opposite situation for you. You kind of went a little backwards at the start, but finding yourself with a podium at the end to recover.
Oh, yeah, I got ejected from the track, picked up 25 seconds of damage, and was on a recovery drive the whole time.
Yeah, well, you managed to recover back to a podium. A lucky/unlucky penalty getting handed to Brian de Santiago. Did you think you had the pace to maybe challenge him without the penalty at the end there?
No, not with my damage. If I didn't have damage, I might have been faster. I don't know. It's hard to say. I have no idea what my actual pace would have been.
Yeah, that's fair to say. And on to the GT3s. Devin, you had a pretty good start. Almost had the move around the Mustang, but that Bentley just steamed right on through everybody, didn't it?
Yeah, he got the best start ever. So yeah, I made room for him because he was just going so fast already. But me and Cecil, We were pretty close in time, so my second pit, I did a little early, try to get that undercut, but when he did his, he came in or out of the pit like 8 seconds ahead of me. But podium, so I'll take it.
Yeah,
You
2
know?
podiums in a row to start the season. Not a bad way to start it off, especially I think none of the other podium sitters from the first race joining tonight either. So I think that's going to be a good championship lead for you at the front of the GT3 pack.
Yeah. And we'll see how it goes for next one.
Indeed. We'll see how it goes. Good luck, everybody. Hope you guys keep up the consistent podium streaks here. And thanks for joining for a quick chat.
I don't
Thanks for
think
having
the
us.
broadcast.
Yep. Thanks, Kuzia.
Not a problem. Move you guys on back here to the green room as we will get a raid set up and going here. Friday's Le Mans Ultimate League here at Trackilicious. Same format as today, 75-minute races, multi-class, hypercars, and LMGT3s. Sundays, we have the Mazda MX-5 Cup in iRacing, getting things started this weekend. And on Mondays, it's the GT4 Rookies in ACC going to round number 3 this coming week, as are all the other series. Look at that. We calendar matched everything. And on Tuesday, it's the GT3 Sprint Championship in Le Mans Ultimate, heading to Silverstone for round number 3 next Tuesday. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the donations, the follows, the chats, and as always, the drivers participating, putting on a show for everybody to watch. Zolder is going to be pretty fun. One of my favorite tracks as we head back to Belgium for round number 3. Thank you, Dom. Almost got onto the podium there. 4th place. Certainly hoping for a podium next time out in that number 5 BMW. Stick around for the raid. Gargle some water, doing some Le Mans Ultimate Racing, so stick around for that. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you may be watching us from. Have a good rest of your week. We will catch you next time.